Welcome back to Ping Pong Flicks Tinfoil Edition. And tonight's episode is Matt Reeves' Batman film still happening? We haven't heard from him since March 30th. He hasn't tweeted anything after the whole Robert Pattinson debacle, all the casting news that were coming out. He has been completely silent. So that begs to question, do you think Matt Reeves' The Batman is still happening? Let's look at some of the evidence from back then to maybe cue us in a little bit closer to what is actually happening. Is Matt Reeves still on the project? Did he quit? Did he get fired? Is there another delay happening? This movie's supposedly supposed to shoot this year in November, and we still haven't have an official Batman yet, including all the other cast members that are supposed to be in this film. What is happening on The Batman? Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to February 28th of 2017. Slash Report recently published a pretty lengthy piece on the DCEU's struggles with directors. Not only Ben Affleck exiting the director's chair for The Batman, but there were other movies as well that had been creative differences with the directors, including The Flash and Wonder Woman. We also had Matt Reeves come on at that time, but he walked once. He actually walked away from Jeff Johns, John Berg, Kevin Tsujihara, that creative team over creative differences. Of course, Warner Brothers knew they needed Batman. They needed their golden child back in the play for Warner Brothers. So they went back to Reeves, told him he had the final say on all things The Batman, and that's why he came back and officially signed on. We know James Wan also wanted final say on Aquaman, and that's why he stayed on. Could it be that with all these creative differences, all these things with delays and script changes and such, that Matt Reeves has finally had it? Is Warner Brothers going back on their word on being director-driven films? Let's go to another article from Revenge of the Fan podcast, when they were talking about the script for The Batman, and there were so many delays and changes. One of the changes was that they were trying to add more action, more spectacle to the Batman script. As Mauro Robles wrote about in his December piece, the first draft of The Batman was pretty low on spectacle. Some of you took this to mean that it'll have no action, but it's important to note that he never said that. What he did say was the script's primary focus is on telling a psychologically complex detective story that takes its cues from David Fincher films like Seven and Zodiac. And now that the second draft has come in, and from the sound of it, Reeves had to amp up the spectacle a bit. He doesn't know what motivated him to bring a little bit more explosiveness to the proceedings. Maybe the studio has loosened the reins on his budget a bit thanks to Aquaman, but he hears that the action quotient for the film will lie somewhere between Seven and The Dark Knight. What if Matt Reeves never intended this Batman detective noir story, which is known to have not many action in a noir story, to have no action or very little action, and because the studio really pushing him to get that action? We have to remember the creative managers, the DCEU from before, Kevin Tsujihara, Jeff Johns, John Berg, they are no longer at Warner Brothers. They are no longer being employed by Warner Brothers. This is a new team. This is a team of Walter Hamada, Peter Safran, Toby Emmerich. What if we're having creative differences once again, and Matt Reeves is not liking what they're being pushed upon? Perhaps even the whole Robert Pattinson that came out on by Variety, which is very questionable, as they put headlines, Robert Pattinson is the new Batman. But within the article, it doesn't say that he's officially the new Batman. He says he's on a list. What if Warner Brothers leaked that out to convince people to be on the bandwagon that Robert Pattinson's the new Batman, when this was not exactly Matt Reeves' choice? What if Matt Reeves had something else in mind, someone else in mind? Remember at the SnyderCon panel where Zack Snyder said that a lot of the Warner Brothers were pushing him different actors and actresses to be cast in his movie, but he had none of it. Him and Deborah decided to go with actors and actresses they wanted to fulfill those roles. Is Warner Brothers doing it again, pushing Robert Pattinson or Armie Hammer or any of these other actors down Matt Reeves' throat when he's not ready with the script yet? They're pushing him. They want this movie to not be delayed once again. As you know, Justin Crowe had said back in May 2nd of 2019 that the script is still being polished up and there's a possibility shooting begins at the top of 2020 instead of fall of 2019, which means it will probably still be a minute before we find out who the next Cape Crusader will be. That was on May 2nd of 2019. And then there was this little thing today where, according to sources at wediscovered.com, Warner Brothers has altered its plans somewhat and the Batman might be going in a more standalone direction than initially intended. From what they understand, the film is no longer being thought of as a prequel. Pattinson's casting confirms they'll still explore a younger Bruce Wayne, but any ties to the Snyder Batman will be gone. Is that something Matt Reeves intended? Is that why he wanted to do a standalone? But why did he put it in the 90s? It seems like he put it in the 90s so that it would be 20 years before Ben Affleck's Batman. Of course, there's also creative differences between Ben Affleck and Matt Reeves. That was also a rumor as well. And if the studio is seeking more spectacle in their Batman script, what if they go back to Ben Affleck's Batman script, knowing full well they've got an older Batman and more action-oriented Batman and Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke, Batman versus Deathstroke. That has all the recipe for an action-oriented Batman. So what is going on here? What if Matt Reeves is gone? He has not tweeted since March 30th of this year, not even commenting about Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson is not even commenting about himself being his Batman. There is nothing that is being reported right now. Is Matt Reeves the Batman still happening? I sure hope so. But the looks of it right now, maybe it's not happening at all. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next Tinfoil episode, I'll see you next time. Bye.